On this episode of the Friend to Friend podcast, we have our world-traveling, van-living, photo-taking, video-making, people-loving extraordinaire, Dillon Wehde. You probably recognize him from a lot of our videos here at Children's Cup, whether he's at the CarePoints making silly faces with the kids, teaching them how to use the camera. His life is all about putting comfort aside for the sake of finding meaningful connections with people anywhere and everywhere he goes, which is all over the world. He is amazing. He's crafted this lifestyle of just choosing to find the value and the meaning inside of each and every person he encounters. So get ready to be challenged and inspired to find adventure in finding connection with those around you. Hey everybody, I'm Tori Townley. Welcome to the Friend to Friend podcast. I am so excited because today we have Mr. Dillon Wehde. Hello.
Hello.
How are you? You guys have probably, I said, how are you? How are you?
I'm swell.
He's swell. You guys have probably seen him on some of our social media videos, some of our documentaries, and if you haven't seen his face, you've definitely seen his work. He's amazing photographer, videographer, great friend, lover of people. So tell us a little bit about you, Dillon.
A little bit about me. I'm 26. Am I 26? No, I'm 27 actually. That was a lie. What else about me? I'm a middle child of 5 kids. My parents are pastors, business owners. I've been to 48 out of the 50 states.
Whoa. Wait, what's your last 2?
Alaska and Hawaii.
Okay.
Those are the only 2. I couldn't drive to those.
Those are a little harder to get to.
Yeah. I lived in a van for 3 years or so. I've lived in 7 states. I like traveling. I'm a creative. I really enjoy, art just in general, and I think that humanity is probably the most beautiful art there is. So, as far as my passion in life, I'd say it's people and the beauty that they create.
That's so cool, and explains exactly why we have you on our team, because that is what you live by, and it's amazing. I want to get into a lot of like your philosophy on life, a lot of how you live. But before I do that, I want to ask you a question that I'm going to ask everybody. What was one of your best friends in life and why?
Okay. So there's moving a lot. You tend to make new friends,
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, the easy answer right now would be my partner, my girlfriend Bella, was my best friend. The best friend I've ever had and will ever have.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's the real answer. I've had many different friends throughout life. I mean, here now in the season, JD is probably one of my closest friends. And then growing up, I had a friend, Kenny. I look for people that I want to emulate or become more like,
That's good.
I mean, I think a lot of people that grew up in church heard this phrase, you become the 5 people you're around the most. So I think people say it a different way, but that's something that I learned very early on and I wanted to adopt, is just like, if I meet someone who I feel as if there's a quality about them that I admire and I want to learn from that. I mean, you don't want to like copy it, carbon copy, but you want to like emulate it or learn from their abilities that seem like they're attractive. Like that, those are things that I look for in people, where it's like, maybe it's JD's like creative ability, his eye for cinematography, his care for his friends and the way that he like gifts people things. Like he's the biggest giver that I know, so things like that. Bella is like her calmness, her peace, her peace of mind in general is just something that I like really want to emulate. So yeah, the reason why just differs depending on each one. But yeah, for Bella specifically, she's beautiful, so that helps, because but the other things, just I would love to be more like her in general. Just I think she's so she's very she's not quick to anger. She's very calm. I don't think she's ever yelled a day in her life.
I love you, Bella.
I don't know if it's good. I mean,
She's
she might
so
be
cool.
like building it up. I don't think it is though. I think she's genuinely just that like
She's so
nice and
sweet.
calm. So yeah.
Shout out Bella. We love you, Bella. She's amazing. No, that's so cool. I love that one of the things about you that stuck out to me is that you have architected your life based on your values, which we all do. We all organize our life based on our values. But I feel like you as a person, you are so intentional with that. And I met you like a few years ago, but I know that you've lived a very adventurous life, like living in campers, starting ice cream shops, traveling the country, like or the world, not just the country. But like you've done so many amazing things. You've adopted a possum this year, like all kinds of just wild stuff.
I released the possum. I don't have the possum.
You released,
anymore.
but you nursed him back to health because he was injured. His name's Randall. If anybody wants to look that up. We've done some amazing stuff, and it's all been organized by your value system, which one thing that really sticks out to me is, well, I want to let you answer. I don't want to answer the question for you, but what are some of those values that you have used to architect this adventurous, kind of lifestyle that most people, it's radical, like most people don't live the way that you do. You've acted in movies. I just learned you did a podcast. So you've done a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the simple way is just like I want to try everything. Like there's so many things in life that's like, you know, you're only alive once. So like, why would you waste it doing the same thing over and over again? You know, you have to do a lot of things over and over again. That's just life. But you know, why add more that you don't have to? Like, I mean, you gotta, you know, there's certain things about life that just become mundane, monotonous. But like, if I don't have to do those things, something is monotonous in my life and I can change it, why not? Like experience something new, even if it's bad. I mean, I also think like, change is the best stimulus for growth, you know? So
that's good.
Yeah, I think, I mean, getting down to the real nitty gritty of it is my philosophy for life in general is just like, don't be comfortable. Like if you are, the more that I'm comfortable, the less I respect myself, and not in like a bad way. Like, it's not like I'm going like, I don't respect myself because I'm, you know, sleeping in today, you know, it's more so just in the overall architecture of my own life. I feel as if the more time I'm spending where I'm trying to chase comfort rather than trying to chase change or growth or uncomfortability in general, you know, I find myself more happy with who I'm becoming whenever I'm chasing that uncomfortability. Because I think not only for one, it will change me to make myself better, but two, it's really helpful because it will require you to connect with others better if you're in a state of uncomfortability. If you feel as if, you know, a big thing I really disliked getting gifts or receiving things from other people growing up. Hated it. Like I even today I hate getting gifts. Like
gifts.
It's
so
I just
weird.
like I don't want people to give me stuff. I want to do it by myself. I don't want help, you know.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy. Like, it's not good. It's the other side of it is like, I love doing things for other people. So the more I thought about it, I was like, well, if I'm not allowing other people to do things for me because of my own, it's just insecurity is what it is. You know, me not feeling as if I'm good enough because I didn't do it by myself, then I'm robbing them of one, blessings, because like to give to someone is a blessing, you know, and you'll get blessed because of your gift to someone else. But the second thing is, it is more for the giver than the receiver to give a gift. And I knew that subconsciously in my life, but the more I've grown up, the more I've realized like allowing others to give to me is kind of a gift in itself, you know.
That's cool.
So all giving and receiving, I guess, is it's selfless in the same manner. Like being able to receive something is something that is a learned behavior for a lot of people, and I think it's a good one to learn.
That's so cool. That's so good. I love your perspective on all that. I remember the first time that I really sat down and talked with you, one of the things that you were sharing was this idea that you're talking about how you chose connection over comfort. And sometimes the enemy of connection, like real, deep, meaningful connections, is comfort.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the practical things you were sharing kind of blew my mind. I was like, I would never choose to do half the things you're doing, but your reasoning behind it, like just living out of a van, like that was a positioning, an intentional positioning, so that you needed to sometimes depend on others.
Yeah.
Like, can you talk to a little bit more of that concept of how denying yourself of comfort led to connection, and maybe some of the practical steps that you took to get that lifestyle?
Yeah, okay, so there's a few reasons. So the shortest reason is that God tells us to be uncomfortable.
Wow.
Like, I mean, no Christian can have a solid argument on Jesus saying to, try to desire and work towards a life of comfort. That's not once in the Bible does Jesus say that. Like, most of it's pick up your cross. You'll be ridiculed for what you believe. You will, be in the world, not of the world, which means you're going to be in it, but not look like it. So like, you're constantly supposed to, as a Christian, feel some uncomfort. If you're not, then, it's not like all uncomfort is the same. Like, I'm not saying you should just do everything that's uncomfortable, but if you are seeking out comfort, generally you're probably living a life that is one you are not called to, And so that's deep. That's the one answer. So, and then there's a second one that's for it. Like, if you are not a religious person, you would I would say a different answer, which would be that seeking discomfort is, in more ways than one, going to evolve you. You're going to find out that as far as like connection, human connection, how easy is it to not leave the house if you don't have to, just order in. I hate Uber, like ordering Uber Eats. It's my least favorite thing in the world. Like, I never, unless it's like I'm in a meeting or whatever, you have to, but if I can, I will go pick it up or I will go order in person, because that little human interaction, you have no idea what's going to come from that.
Wow.
Like, there's so many possibilities, and 99% of the time it's just a quick conversation and you're done, unless you nudge it a little bit, but that comes later. The first practical step is to seek out human connection, even when you don't want to. When I was a kid, I'm still an introvert. I'm not an extrovert. I was going to
ask, like, are you an extrovert? Because all the introverts are like, no, thank you.
No, yeah, I'm an introvert.
Trained introvert.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask anyone in my family, they would tell you, like, I mean, a middle child to 5 kids. Like, no, for the most part, my family members would be like, I don't know where Dillon is. Like, he's probably in his room reading. Like, that would be their response.
Wow.
If I was 12 years old, you ask, where's Dillon? What is he doing? He's probably in his room reading.
Oh my gosh.
That was me all the time.
That's so funny. It's not you now.
Well, I don't read anymore. Not that I don't I like books, but like I don't like sitting home and reading is something that I can get addicted. Like I slip into it. And it is not the healthiest thing for me if I'm just at home all the time by myself, which happens sometimes. And when it does, I can feel it. It's so much comfort that I've trained my body to almost reject it, which can be unhealthy, but it's also, for me, it has been the best way to experience a life that I wanted to. Like, when I was a child, I mean, I told you I read books. A lot of the times the books that I was reading, I wanted to be the characters in the books. And a lot of introverts feel that way. They want to be the character that they're watching on TV if they're like a movie buff or a book buff or whatever. They are connecting with, the character in this story, and the character is oftentimes not sitting at home doing nothing. So it's like, there's a disconnect there. It's like, if you want to be that person, you can. Like, it's not, you don't go, and I'm not saying everyone has to do this, but you don't have to go, I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to people. I don't like people. And I also hate, like, Americans love to have this, like, I hate people. It's like, shut up. Like, what are you talking about?
It's not cool.
Like, I understand there's annoying people for sure, but like you have, if it's so strange to me, this this frustration with others, and there's such a wall. And for me, it's, we're all so more connected than we feel like we are, you know? And I feel like, especially in America, I feel like sadly, there seems to be some lack of community in America. I think it's a big reason why Children's Cup is so beautiful, is because, you know, the connection you get with these other communities, especially the Latin American communities. I mean, the African communities definitely have, you know, a niche tight group of people. But when you go, you know, when you're with Dominicans, like they're like I met you 5 seconds ago and you're like hugging me 50 times, inviting me over your house. Like, it's just like the walls are down, you know. There's a cultural element in Latin America where they have so much deep community. And I really, really love that about, you know, that part of the world, but also in that culture. But it's a lot of, I mean, there's definitely places in America that have it, but I think that culturally Americans are falling short of that communal aspect. And I think of it as American ideology as individualism, you know, for the most part. It's kind of what the country was based off of. So it's not inherently wrong, but I feel as if we need to find a happy medium.
Agree.
Yeah.
It's very true. Very true. The value of connection is different, but you've chosen to like center your life around it and make those choices. And I love how I remember you sharing that you kind of started small. Like, I want to change this. I'm going to take baby steps. Like, but it's crazy because everyone knows you as like outgoing Dillon. Like, you'll be, I don't want to say disruptive, but like, you're not afraid to jolt the conversation a little bit. We've been in airports and like there's a packed out elevator. Everybody's mad. Everybody's like, I got to get to my gate. And Dillon's like, how's everybody doing today? Like, just trying to start conversations. Or like, we'll be at Starbucks and you have a favorite drink. You know what you like at Starbucks, but you let the lady in the line order for you. Like, you tell me, surprise me. And it starts a conversation. And I think what you said, like, our culture, we're so just stay to yourself, like, hold it in. But how do you make yourself or train your mind to be that available? You know what I mean? Like, it takes, I don't think, oh, let me go out to eat or go pick up my food on my own so that I can have a chance at interacting with someone. I'm a mom. Life's a little bit busier. I'm going to choose DoorDash before anything else, but I don't want to. Like, I want to have the time to look someone in the eyes and think about, how is your day today? How do you, especially for the introverts out there who aren't quite as like well-trained or self-trained as you have been, talk to us about, I want to take baby steps. I'm not ready to go fly around the world, get a camper, which I would do that any day. But some people out there aren't ready to do that. How can we start? What are some small practical ways that...
I mean, the biggest thing is, I mean, it's similar to eating well or working out or trying to learn a language or whatever it might be. Like, the hardest part's the beginning.
True.
Like, once starting it is the most difficult. I mean, there's a great trend on the internet where people, it's like Seek No or something like that, where people will purposely try to ask ridiculous things of people until they get a no. So it's even to the point where like they'll go to like a private airport and go to like someone, be like, hey, can I tour your plane? Can you take me up for free?
Whoa.
And like, and most of the time they'll have to do like 100 things before they get a no. Like, people are so much more generous and so much more kind and communal than you think that they are.
Wow.
And so a lot of our fear is just perception. It's not rooted in anything that's part of reality. Most of it's the internet. Like, the internet will tell you that, like, I mean, a big thing is, you know, I won't get into the politics of it, but there's a lot of like, if I do a lot of work in New Orleans, and there's a lot of people in Baton Rouge that like, don't go into New Orleans. It's dangerous. You know, it's like, the news will tell you that this place is that way and this place is that way. When I lived in Birmingham, Alabama, then I moved to San Francisco, and everyone in San Francisco was like, they have paved roads there? And like, you know, everyone in Birmingham was like, oh man, is everyone just like drugged out on the street? And it's like, yeah, there's a high percentage of certain things in certain places, but like everywhere there's people, and the people are people. So it's like they're similar to you. They have different ideologies, sure, but like as soon as you get down to the root of who they are as a person, they're you. They're just you. Yeah. And so like, you know, they're different in the most beautiful ways possible. And if you can connect with them because you see them as much as a human as you see yourself, and then get to the part of them that's different and view that in a beautiful way, you'll end up learning from them rather than feeling, disconnected from them.
Wow.
It's really rare that I push myself to get into an awkward conversation. Like sometimes I'll go like, how awkward can I make this conversation? Like, can I, try to figure out too much eye contact, too little eye contact, try to say something that, if I know someone's from a certain place, like I'll try to say something that's not like offensive, but just like confusing or like weird, just to see like what they're going to do. Or like I've called someone the wrong name once to see if they would say anything about it.
Did they?
No, they didn't.
Oh, wow.
And then after I was like, I tried that, like I mentioned it to him. We weren't like, we were more friends than at that point, like acquaintances more than friends, but like just trying to do certain things to see, just like curiosity. So that's I guess that's a good way to put it, is find out how to be curious about how someone will react to your uncomfortability, or discomfort, I should say. That's the wrong word, but first steps would be when you go. First step would be don't order Uber Eats or DoorDash. Like actually go and order and pick it up if you can. Obviously, life sometimes gets in the way. I'm not a parent, so I would never, try to tell someone who's a parent that like you have to stop doing this, because like obviously there's certain elements of life that stop you from doing those things. But trying to get into a habit like working out or learning a language or whatever, trying to get into a habit of seeking that discomfort rather than just going, I got to do this thing, let's get it done as quickly as possible. Because that's a lot of the reason why I did it, was just because like I wanted productivity and efficiency were high priorities. So that if I can learn how to become uncomfortable in a situation, it will slow me down and I will focus on the humanity in the interaction rather than just like, what are my tasks? Let me do those things. So practical things would be, if you go order a coffee, this is my favorite thing to do, is you ask for 10% off for no reason. 50%, whatever number you want. Hey, I want a latte. Can I get 20% off? And they'll go, like, why? Like I remember, most of the time one time someone asked me if I worked there, like if I was new, and I was like, no, I was just wondering, like, can I get, and they're going to say no, they might say yes, but for the most part, it's just to have this break. I've worked in have you ever worked in customer service? Mm-mm. You have a customer service voice. You start working in customer service and you start being like, hey, how are you today? Yeah, my name is Dillon. It's good to see you. Yeah, just like if you let me know what you want, I'll be back in a second. Like you get into this rhythm, you have the same spiel, the same thing. And, I don't want to put it on people who are work, because like if it's your job, you kind of have to do that. But when I'm going in to sit at a restaurant or something, my goal whenever a waiter or waitress comes up to me is to try to break them out of it. Like they're in this spiel and they need to be in the spiel. So I don't say it's, oh, how dare they say the same thing to every single person. I've been there in their shoes. So like, yeah, they're going to do that. They have to do that. But I want to be like, figure out anything. Maybe it's something they're wearing or their attitude, or like, if they seem extra like happy or grateful or whatever, like mention it, like connect with them as a person. I say people's names. If they have a name tag, I will say their name to them. Like I'm not going to just, hey, thanks. Yeah, man. Thank you. Whatever. I will say your name if you have a name tag on. And it, a lot of the times means nothing. It's just kind of something you do just to try to connect a little bit more. But I'm just trying to find the curiosity of the interaction. What is it going to lead to? Because it could lead to anything. Like I've been in interactions with people I met randomly at a coffee shop where I slept at their house because I was traveling in a van, and it was like, yeah, I have like an extra bedroom, like come sleep there. And it's like, wow, that's great. And then now we've been friends for like 4 years.
Really?
Yeah. So it's just like these elements of life that you can implement will greatly impact your social surrounding. Like you'll be able to find so much more connection if you're just willing to really seek that discomfort, trying to figure out how to bridge the gap between, strangers to acquaintances to friends. Like how fast can we get there? Like let's race to the finish line as far as like friendship goes. And, that's harder. It's easier said than done. And, 90% of the times you'll never see them again. It is what it is. But at least you had an interaction that, maybe made their day a little better because it seemed like they talked to a human. If it's
Yeah.
like someone who's customer service, like you talk to people all day long that don't even look at you. So like having someone kind of view you as a person
Yeah.
and
Wow.
and communicate with you as a person, like really might impact them. Might not, but it might. So why not? You know? And then for you, it kind of gets you in the groove of seeing other people as potential connections in general. Like every human being you walk past this, like I love cities because that you walk everywhere in a city rather than driving everywhere. I hate driving so much. There's no people. Everyone's separated by 2 metal walls, and you're just sitting here like, I'm just trying to get through these 2 metal walls, my door and your door. You're all the way over here. There's just like so much disconnect. There's so much disconnection there.
Wow.
And so it's walking kind of is, I like that a lot more. If you're in a city, you get to look at people, talk to people, pop onto this coffee shop or that restaurant or whatever it might be. Like you find, new interactions every day that might make your life better.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love how it leads, like one little interaction leads to a whole relationship, like you said.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. But I want to ask, what was it that changed your desire? Like you talk about being the middle kid who was in your room, introvert, reading. You wanted to be the guy in the character, but like there was something that had to have clicked where you're like, I am going to start seeking connection. I'm going to put that meaningful interaction. Was there like a moment, or what was it that made you kind of flip that switch?
I don't know. I mean, I think like I have a lot of social anxiety.
No way.
Yeah.
That's not true.
I have so much social anxiety. Like every even to like, it's much better now, but like and that's why it's like a constant thing. Like I have to continuously do it or else I'll slip back into it. Right.
Wow.
So like I'll, if I don't talk to someone for a long period of time, it'll be very difficult for me to have those conversations with strangers, But to answer your question is like, I just didn't like who I was. Like I loved people, but I was scared of them. I was scared to have any social interaction with them. I admired people that I was scared to talk to. I remember growing up, I was a drummer growing up and I loved music. And I went to like band camps. I went to this camp. I was like 15, 14 years old, something like that. And I went to this camp, forget what it's called. I think it was in like South North Carolina or something. And it was like a Christian music camp. And Pillars is a band. Pillars drummer was one of the teachers there. And I loved him. Didn't talk to him a single time. He was there the whole time. I could have been best friends with him, but I mean, I probably wouldn't have been because I was 15. But I could have gotten so much good information, learned so much, and made a really cool connection. But because I was scared of that social anxiety, that initial social anxiety of the initial conversation, and it's really just that first conversation, like just the breaking point. Once you break it, and you get into it, it just slowly fades away. So it's like, I was scared of the initial talk, the initial conversation. And that's all I was scared of. Because I realized once I would get into those things, and my parents are pastors, and my mom's very outgoing, and she forced me to pray on stage in front of 500 people all the time. And so it's like, I was constantly doing things already that I was scared of. They just were involuntary. Like, I didn't want to, but I was kind of forced to in a lot of ways. If you're the pastor's kid, it's always, there's new people here, the kids your age, go talk to them. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm scared to talk to my friends sometimes. You're telling me I got to talk to this stranger, what I'm supposed to talk about. So like, I was kind of pushed a lot because of my parents already. So that probably helped more than I can realize.
Wow.
But there's a lot of it that was just, I didn't really like who I was. If you don't like who you are, change.
That's so good.
And it's not easy. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to be a different person today. But, the first time you try, it's going to be awful. And it's like the first time you work out, you're incredibly sore. Mm-hmm. You're incredibly weak. You feel terrible. You look around at the gym, everyone's better looking than you. And you're like, this is not fun, but the more you do it, the more you kind of go, okay, like your fears drop away, your anxiety, subdues, and you you start finding your rhythm and you start learning how to do it. You know, I was very bad at speaking. I'm still bad at speaking. Like, it's difficult for me to string conversation together sometimes because I oftentimes don't say the right word, you know, and it's mostly just because I'm not thinking when I'm speaking, which it goes against everything you're kind of told when you're a kid, you know. And the problem is, when I was a child, I was told, think before you speak, because you're going to say something, you know, think before you speak. And there's, you know, that's good advice. I'm not saying that's bad advice, but I just wouldn't speak because I overthought.
Think so much.
Yeah. And so now sometimes I have to ask forgiveness, but I speak before I think a lot of the times. I say the wrong things often, but I find myself in better community because people know me. That's so and good. I know other people well because of my inhibition. I'm just, it's just coming out, and you're maybe not going to like it, and I will apologize if I offend you. But I can't not, or else no one will know me.
Wow.
You know?
The value of being known. Like, that's so beautiful. And it's like all you people want is to be known. And so you being open and vulnerable enough to allow yourself to be known allows people to feel the same thing from you.
Yeah.
And that's what community is. But it's just when you hear it said that way, like how much it means to you. Like you just said that so genuinely from your heart. Like I'm known.
Yeah.
And that really has changed everything. I feel like you when you're connected with someone who knows you, it's like there's a mirror reflecting back to you and reminding you of who you are and hopefully all the beautiful things and the good things that you don't see in yourself.
Well, but there's something to be said about the bad things.
True.
You learn, that's the beauty about it, is like you find so much growth in that.
Yeah.
When you find, I mean, that's why it's, you know, don't get comfortable, because once there's no growth from being comfortable. Like if you know, I keep going back to like, the gym, because it's a great analogy. It's just
where
like
you've been lately.
Yeah. But no, it's just in all things. Like if you want to advance in a career, like you're going to have to do an interview. You're going to have to go through your resume, send it to your friends and say, tell me everything horrible about this. You're going to have to do things that are uncomfortable. And that's just in any area of life, you have to do uncomfortable things to grow. Mm-hmm. And if the more you do it, the more it's going to happen. So why not do it all the time? Just be as comfortable with discomfort as humanly possible.
So good.
Yeah.
Except for customs.
So I just think it's uncomfortable for no gain.
Dillon hates customs at airports. That's his one place that he has to have.
Well, as we go to countries where it's like, you know, here's 13 forms before you even take off, and then when you land, it's like, oh, none of those mattered.
We love you, TSA. We love you, TSA. That's so funny. I don't like you, TSA. Oh no, don't say that. We need favor. We're Children's Cup. We need favor.
Yes, please just open the gate. Let us go through. You know, no questions asked.
That's so funny.
Stop looking at my giant batteries.
Oh yeah, you always have a lot of fun.
That's the biggest reason I hate it. It's just all the gear that you bring.
Not fun.
Yeah, they're like, take out a million things.
But you've ended up making a lot of good friends through customs, I feel like.
I'm not friends with
any TSA. If nothing else, it tickles me to watch you. You're so peppy, and Dillon's like, in customs, whole different guy. No, I'm just kidding, kind of.
You're right. Yeah, it's like it's the whole
funny.
trip. I wish it was, you know, back in the day. I mean, 90s travel, just what a dream.
90s travel.
Just no TSA.
So speaking of that, I wanted to ask a little bit about your professional role. You are a photographer, videographer. You work with us at Children's Cup. You travel to all of the CarePoints. I really feel like the way that you live your life personally spills over into your work. Obviously, it's who you are, but you carry those values and that mentality into being able to notice moments or seeing the treasure in people. What are some of those moments that you've been able to interact with or get more curious about? Where has that led you to professionally?
I think that as an artist, I mean, it's strange. Like, I don't most of my life, I hated calling myself an artist. But I think that, I mean, I said it earlier, it's just like humanity is the most beautiful art in the world. You know, you have, and my favorite photos I've ever taken are photos where you can see the authenticity of a human life. just like who they are in one photo. It's like my favorite photos I've ever taken is that, you know. So there's photos I've taken of beautiful sceneries. You know, I've traveled to 48 states. You know, some of the most beautiful places in the world are in the United States of America. It's just an unbelievably beautiful country. And I love taking photos of the Salt Flats or Yosemite or Glacier National Park or Zion or whatever it might be, you know. But every single one of those photos comes second to every photo of a human being that showcased who they are as a person. You know, and some of those photos are not technically good. You know, they might be out of focus. They might be, some of them might be really beautiful photos, but they're so overly posed that I can't see the humanity in it. So I think that most of my work is trying to exemplify the authenticity of the beauty of humanity.
That's cool.
And which is why I think, you know, I love documentary photography is my biggest passion. And after that, it's like I'm doing videos, like documentary video is so, it's a more complicated way to experience more authenticity. So it's much harder for me, which is I lean on JD a lot with some of that stuff, because as far as my ability goes for creating beautiful video, I find myself getting too excited in the moment and I'm talking, you know. So like photo's easy. I can take a photo and then have a really long conversation. With video, I'm trying to capture the conversation. And so I'm like thinking about the video specs, like what am I shooting this? Am I shooting this in C-Log still or whatever? Like all these little things I'm thinking on the back of my head, they take me away from the conversation. So like I'm trying to bridge that gap.
So it's kind of like your strength and your weakness almost. It helps you connect with people, but it kind of takes your mind off of the technicalities. Yeah,
because I mean it's so difficult because you have to be so good at the technical stuff that it becomes second nature, so you don't think about it ever. Yeah. You know, it's like you're riding a bike now, and I'm just not there yet. I mean, I don't think I'm bad per se. I just think that, you know, it's taken some reps, and I am excited about those reps, but I also think that I want to keep both of those things. Yeah. That's good. The authenticity of the communication and the interview or the moment that's happening, while actually having an actual beautiful frame, a beautiful footage, right? And I want to pair those things together. Sometimes one of them lacks, you know, so the trick is to get them both. But I think to answer your question in a better way is that I want to capture the beauty of humanity in all areas of life in the world, in areas where some of the people that have the least in this world seem to spiritually have the most. And to capture that, you know, I talk to Dan about this sometimes, because he loves saying, like, we don't want to show flies on kids' faces. Like, that's not our goal. Yeah. Our goal is to show the humanity of the people that we're trying to help. And that's the biggest reason why I love working with Children's Cup, is because it's not about, you know, look at how bad these people's lives are. Yeah. You know? Right. We want to help them, but it's about, look at how beautiful these people are. And that is really like the purpose of my work in general, is just trying to exemplify the beauty of humanity.
That's so good, Dillon. Yeah, that's what it's all about, is seeing the treasure in the person. And I was going to ask you, so people who are listening, they may not be in the videography business or photography, but that practice of being able to capture the treasure inside of a person, how can some of your practices and the things that you've learned in photography, how could that translate into someone's life practically, who maybe isn't out there with a camera every day, but they want to practice framing, like, I'm going to take a snapshot mentally, or you know, accentuating the beauty, whatever it is. How do we find treasure? How do we train our eye to see?
Yeah. You have to connect with them first. You can't take an authentic photo of someone you don't know. So
that's good.
And mentally too, like if you're trying to encapsulate someone in a memory, you have to know them.
Yeah.
You know, I think my favorite photo I've ever taken is of my grandparents, on my father's side, and in their old age, you know, 70s, we went out to a field and just took some photos of them, like a some couples photography, you know. And when I was taking the photos, I was like, just documentation, right? But since that photo shoot, I have realized the importance of documenting them, not my memory of them, but them themselves. Because there's a difference. When you're a child, you grow up with your grandparents and you have this idea of them. They're almost not people.
Yeah.
They're like,
true.
And your parents can be that way too. I mean, it's like, oh, they're my parents. You forget that your parents are living a life just as you are. They're you know, they're not done with their growth. They're not done with their life. They are still in the process, you know? And so now I have 40 hours of audio that I capture just talking, asking about stories of my grandparents, going over their house, sitting at my grandmother's kitchen table, pressing record on my phone and saying like, just thinking of different questions that would spark some sort of story. What was your favorite decade you've ever been alive? You know, was the 80s? Like, what were the 80s like? What were the 70s like? And just trying to figure out, you know, what about them is interested in those things. So a lot of it is just figuring out a good way to answer that question would be to forget about your own anxieties about how people are viewing you, which is very difficult. I'm not saying that lightly.
It's very difficult.
And once you do that, it's very easy to be interested in others.
Wow. Because
you're not thinking about you. The less you think about you, the more you can think about others. So it's like if I'm worried about the way I look to this person or the way I'm being perceived, I'm not going to sit here and be like, tell me about this. I'm so curious, because you're going, oh, they might not want to tell me that. Is this question too forward? Or is this like, ask for an apology if it is. Just ask. And that can be, there's obviously guardrails up. You have to know the situation you're in. But trying to figure out a way to forget about your own anxieties so that you can focus on others is hugely beneficial to even just your happiness. Like if you're so worried about yourself, you know everything bad about yourself, and you're usually not focused on the good stuff. You're usually focused on the bad stuff. So if you just forget about it for a while and only focus on the beauty of others, you're going to be a happier person in general. So even just that in itself, like,
sounds so good.
You're gonna, obviously you need to know the negatives in your own self so that you can improve. But if all you do is go like, oh man, this person's not going to like me because they might see through me into like this section of, I'm a little selfish, or I'm doing this, or I'm feeling this way. Or they might see that I'm depressed or whatever. It's like, so, they might see that, they might ask you about it, answer, you even asked me something earlier. You're like, can I ask you about that? And I was like, there is not a question you cannot ask me. Like, and that might hurt me in the future, like I will answer any question anyone asks me, but I am not going to let my fear of the future dictate my ability to connect with people now.
Wow. That's so good, Dillon. That's so good.
Thanks.
I feel so encouraged and challenged and everything. It reminds me of, I did a session with Dr. Yarbrough like a while back. It was like a coaching session, and he had us do this super awkward exercise. We all hated it, but we had to stare into each other's eyes for 30 seconds and not blink, like one-on-one. And he's like, I'm getting you comfortable with having someone see you so that they can be seen by you.
Yeah.
And it was like the worst 30 seconds of my whole life, because it felt so insecure. Like, you're like, I have hair, I didn't shave my lip, like I got peach fuzz, I got eye boogers, I don't know what you're seeing.
Yeah.
But once we broke through that, it was like, okay, now I'm okay with being seen so that you can feel seen. It was so it just kind of gave me a picture of what you're talking about and how important it is to get out of your own way. So all of this has been so encouraging. Thank you for taking time to share about your life and just how you live. It's so just inspiring. Like, I'm challenged by it, and I know everybody else who's listening will be. Would you give us some homework? Like, what should we read? I mean, you've given us a lot, but if you could give us like one next step to go home and try out. Not read a book, clearly.
No, people should read. I was addicted to reading. You know, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. You know, so maybe pendulum has swung a little too far the other way, but I do like audiobooks when I'm driving.
It's efficient.
Yeah. I mean, it'll come to you. Like, I don't need to give you homework. Your homework's going to pop up in your head.
I like that.
The next time you go, the next time you think about doing something and you're like, I'm so curious about it could be a book. You're at a coffee shop. That person's reading a book. You're a little curious about it. Ask them.
That's great.
Like, you know, and then every step you take another one.
I love that.
That's something I like to do. Like, if I have an idea, oftentimes I'll go, what's worse? Like, if the idea is like a little uncomfortable, I'm like, what's worse?
Oh my gosh.
What's worse than that? Like, I would do this thing where I'll go to a coffee shop and I would ask someone, like, I already know what I want, but I would go up to a random person sitting down and I'd be like, hey, what'd you get? What'd you get to drink?
So
and they'll be like, oh, I don't know, cappuccino. And you'd be like, oh, I've always wanted to try a cappuccino. Can I try it?
No.
And they're going to say no. You know, it's going to be the worst.
Have they ever said yes to you?
Yeah.
Oh, gross. And you have to drink it then?
No, you don't.
Oh,
why?
Don't.
There's no rules to this.
Just kidding.
You do whatever you want.
Okay.
But no, I just think, you know, it'll come to you. Like, you know, if you, whatever feels uncomfortable that you may feel like could grow you, if you go, I have no friends, talk to everybody that you can. Anytime something pops in your head, like, oh, your overalls, I like the color of them. Like, where did you get those? Tell me about your process. Why did you buy them? What did you like about it? Like,
yeah.
Think about what are you going to ask this person? And if anything about them interests you, ask.
I love that.
It's not, you know.
I love that.
Might need another. I only have one tattoo and it says don't get comfortable, but I might need another one that says like there's no bad questions. Like,
there's no bad questions. I love it so much.
There's one. I have a quote actually that I wanted to, that went along with this, that it was like, I really, really like. It's from Anthony Bourdain. Let me see. Yeah. It says, if I'm an advocate for anything, it's to move as far as you can, as much as you can, across the ocean or simply across the river. The extent to which you can walk in someone else's shoes or at least eat their food, it's a plus for everybody. Open your mind, get up off the couch, and move. Wow. So it might just be like, go outside. Like, the advice for everyone would be different. The homework for everyone would be different. If you're a homebody and you don't like leaving the house because of whatever it might be, maybe it's just because if it doesn't make you uncomfortable, then it might not be something that will grow you, you know. So figure out what makes you uncomfortable, decide whether it's beneficial or not to do it. If it is, do it. If it's not, then don't, because there's plenty of things that are uncomfortable that you shouldn't do. I mean, there's a lot of them, so it's like,
have you
don't
seen
be dumb
Yes
with it.
Man with Jim Carrey?
Love that movie.
Maybe watch it filtered, everybody, but yeah, it's the same concept. Like, you just say yes to everything.
Yeah, you can learn
got
Korean.
in a lot of trouble and good things happen too. So
Yeah,
it was good.
absolutely.
I love it. I like it. So basically, if I had to boil it down, it would be choose curiosity over comfort for the sake of connection.
Yeah.
Alliterations are really good.
Thanks for taking an hour of me rambling and putting it in one sentence.
Good underline. How can people follow you? We see your work through Children's Cup on Instagram, but if they want to follow more of what you do, best way to find you.
Well, I'm in a van somewhere in the U.S. so they can
Not literally, please.
Oh, okay.
Please.
No, my name's spelled weird, but Dillon Wehde on Instagram is Dillon Wehde. This is just strange, weird, but yeah.
Cool.
That's about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll catch you next time. Catch you next time.
Good job.
Peace out. Thanks so much for watching today's episode. We hope you loved it. If anything stuck out to you, drop a comment and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the fun things. And if you're looking for us on social media, you can find us at Children's Cup.